I just finished a 1,000-mile road trip with my brand new 37s. On a Tundra? That damn truck would get 4 miles per gallon and take a month to get to 60. This was the top comment when I first posted about fitting these tires, and there were many others saying the same. But what if I tell you, I actually got over 17 miles per gallon on the highway? Impossible. Yeah, I couldn't believe it either. But after analyzing the data, I think I know why it performed the way it did. Alright, let's get started. The second-gen Tundra is known for its high reliability and low gas mileage. Mine is a 2007 with over 130,000 miles. It has the 4.7-liter cast iron block 2UZ FE. According to the window sticker, the EPA fuel economy was 18 highway. But that was with the factory 32-inch tires. So how the hell did I only lose 1 mpg highway on 37s? And no, I did not regear or have any ECU tuning. To measure my mpg accurately, I went on a 4-day 1,000-mile trip from Pennsylvania to West Virginia, where I met up with Mountain State Overland to overland the Mountain State. I tracked the entire trip with Onyx Off-Road. I then retraced everything using the route builder to clean up any GPS drifting from the phone and the parts where I was walking. According to Onyx, the entire trip was 1,041 miles. Throughout this trip, I filled up 7 times in total and documented how much I put in at each pump. So we can calculate the miles per gallon for each section. Bro, if you care so much about fuel economy, go get a Prius. It's not about miles per gallon, it's about smiles per gallon. Well, I respect that, but even if you don't care about spending money on gas, better MPG gives you a longer range. A huge benefit for all four-wheeling. My RCSB Tundra has the same wheelbase as a 3rd-gen Tacoma, so I have a small gas tank. And range was my biggest concern for this build. So on my way back, I also tested how far I can go on a single tank. Oh shit! And the result might surprise you. But let's start from day 1 and see how everything went down. I began the trip with a full tank and immediately got on the interstate. I was mostly in the left lane doing 65 to 75 miles per hour. After 186 miles, all highway, I stopped at this Flying J in Virginia. Here I put in 10.228 gallons. So 186 divided by 10.228 equals 18.2 miles per gallon. Damn, that actually matched the window sticker. Was that right? Let's do a few sanity checks. For the mile number, I used GPS miles instead of the odometer because I changed the tire size. For Toyota trucks, the odometer is based on tire rotations, read from the wheel speed sensors. When we increase the tire diameter, the truck goes further per revolution. But the ECU still thinks I'm on 32s. As you can see, my odometer only registered 163.9 miles, which would suggest I was still all the way back here. Well, obviously that was not right, because how would I order these wings from Flying J's? Delicious. So what about the gallon number? To make sure the pump didn't click off before it was full, I waited for a few seconds, then I let it click off a second time. I saw TFL did this in their MPG testing, so I decided to do the same. Now, it was still possible that this pump click off early twice in a row. But even if that was the case, I will have to pump in extra in the next refill. So our overall MPG across multiple fill-ups should still be accurate. We'll see how it plays out. Now, there are also some environmental factors we should consider. If I was going downhill a lot, I would burn less fuel. But according to Onyx, I actually had a net gain in elevation. so that wouldn't have helped. A strong tailwind will also improve fuel economy, but looking back at the weather map, the wind was blowing pretty much perpendicular to where I was heading, so wind was not helping either. Well, I guess we're gonna move on with 18.2. After my delicious gas station wings, I hopped right back on I-81, doing more or less the same speed. Remember, my speedometer was reading low because of the tire size. After 99 miles, I got off the highway and started driving on smaller country roads that takes me to West Virginia. My speed was down to between 40 to 55 miles per hour. There were also a lot more turns and traffic stops, so I had significantly more braking. As I got closer to the mountain state, I started to do some serious switchbacks and hill climbs. All these after the highway were not great for fuel economy. After about 59 miles of country road, I stopped at this very cool Webb's General Store for my second fill-up. After 2 clicks, I pumped in 9.697 gallon. We traveled 158 miles from the Flying J, so my fuel economy for this section was 16.3. Consider the last 37% was all country roads with significant elevation gain. This was not bad at all. In fact, it actually matched up with the combined MPG on the window sticker. Very impressive. But we got a problem. Mountain State Overland sent me the GPS coordinates for tonight's campsite. It was kind of up in the trails, so neither Google nor Apple Map could navigate there. But fortunately, Onyx Off-Road now have its own built-in turn-by-turn navigation, and that works for both on and off-road. Onyx Off-Road is a tool I use for every trip, and they are also a sponsor to this channel. One of their latest features is their self-service overlay. Thanks to this feature, I realized I will have zero service for a long while after this gas station. So before I headed out, I messaged my wife telling her I was safe, but she probably won't hear from me again for a little while. It was a great feeling to disconnect once in a while, but knowing exactly where I can reconnect gave me the peace of mind. I highly recommend Onyx Off-Road to anyone who wants to get out more. You can scan this QR code or use the link below for 20% off your first year of membership. I would like to thank Onyx for supporting my channel. After Webb's General Store, I drove over even more mountains. To my surprise, this little 4.7-liter V8 with factory gearing felt pretty effortless pushing these 37s. Even after continuous hill climb, the transmission temperature remained dead center. And soon, I made it to our campsite and met up with the crew. Mountain State Overland will post a video for our next 2 days of adventure. I won't spoil the fun here, so go subscribe to their channel and stay tuned for that. For this video, let's keep focusing on my MPG on 37s. On day 1, we got 17.2 miles per gallon, over 344 miles and 2 refills. But that is about to change. On day 2 morning, we aired down our tires and left our campsite in 4 low. Now, remember in my last video, I told you I cleared 37s with no lift and no body mount chop.
Ah, I heard him run. You're stuffed.
I am stuffed. Turned out, it was all lies. Just kidding, the culprit was actually in the rear, where the wheel well liner protrudes at the attachment points. I actually knew it when I made the last video, but I didn't include it because we are focusing on the front, which is the hardest part everyone tries to deal with. And for the front, I was happy to report we had absolutely zero rubbing. After the 4 low section, we switched to 4 high and explored some national forest. We had a lot of switchbacks going up and down. Again, all these were not good for fuel economy. After the forest, we stopped at this Shell gas station, which marked the 3rd fill-up for this trip. Since the last one, I only traveled 78 miles, but I pumped in 7.1 gallons. So my MPG for this section was only 10.9, which put my overall fuel economy down to 15.6. For the rest of day 2 and the entire day 3, we were mostly in 4-wheel drive and climbed over a lot more mountains. We also hit a few more technical sections, which were a lot of fun. At the end of day 3, we stopped at Tangent Outfitters of Virginia for my 4th refill. I traveled 156 miles and put in 13 gallons, which equals to 12 miles per gallon for this section and 14.4 for the trip thus far. After this refill, I aired out my tires and drove around 20 miles highway to our last campsite, where we had our overland potluck. This group took overland cooking very seriously. Meanwhile, I was cheating with technology. I really appreciate MSO for letting me tag along on this trip. Again, make sure you check out their YouTube channel for the fun parts. I will leave a link in the description below. We said our goodbyes the next morning. Before I got on the highway, I topped off at this Axon and pumped in 1.95 gallons. Since my last refill, I only drove 26.6 miles, which means for this short section, I got only 13.6 miles per gallon. But it was mostly highway. So what the hell? One factor was that we climbed over a very steep hill to get to our campsite. Another factor was that I idled my truck for a good half an hour taking photos. Since we cover very few miles, those extra fuel consumptions made a bigger impact percentage-wise. But if we add this to our overall trip, the MPG change didn't even show up to the first decimal. This is why it is crucial to measure fuel economy over a long distance and multiple fill-ups to average things out. Now, remember I said I was worried about my range, so let's actually test that. After this refill, I just kept going. I tried to make it home early, so I was going a little faster than the way down. I set my cruise control such that my speedometer read 70, but factoring the tire size, I was actually going around 80. The gas light came on when the odometer read 312, but I kept going until I realized my fuel gauge crossed the bottom line. Oh shit! So I slowed down to reduce aerodynamic drag while trying to locate a gas station. Fortunately, I reached this readiness market before I completely ran out. My short Tundra has a 26-gallon tank. After 2 clicks at the pump, I put in 22.9. I could have gone even further. According to the GPS, my Tundra has a range of 386 miles. For context, my friend TRD John also took a long trip in his bone stock 4th Gen Tacoma.
So fill-up number 1 after the Buc-ee's, we got 9 miles left on the tank, and if I go over, we did 339.
And if you run 37s, like my friend Tuan did on his 4th Gen Tacoma,
with 37-inch tires, we maybe would get 200 miles before we had to pump.
I don't know about you, but 386 on 37s sounds pretty good to me. For this 386 miles, my fuel economy was 16.8. Not as good as my weight down, but that was probably because of higher speed. Remember, aerodynamic drag is proportional to the speed squared. This brought our overall MPG to 15.2. Now, I still have a little bit to go. So for the sake of experiment, I set my cruise control so that the speedometer read 60, which equals to about 68 miles per hour in the real world. This section had some ups and downs. But to my surprise, the Tundra simply stayed in overdrive and climbed right through. After 52 GPS miles and 2 clicks at the pump, I put in 2.245 gallons. So 52 divided by 2.245 equals...
What the f***?
This was literally the MPG of a turbo 4-cylinder. We did have a net drop in elevation, but that was not too much. The weather again was mostly crosswind and fairly weak. So maybe it was actually that good. Again, our last bit of driving was relatively short, so the MPG for this section alone should be taken with a grain of salt. But the entire trip should be pretty accurate. If we add this into our entire 1,041 miles trip, it brought our overall MPG to 15.5. Now, remember, we had 234 miles mostly off-road. So if we only look at the normal highway driving, we actually achieved 17.2. These 807 highway miles were done on 2 different days, in opposite directions, and refilled at 5 different gas stations. So this should be a very accurate number. Basically, we went from 32-inch tires to 37s, but lost less than 1 mile per gallon from the window sticker. I found that very hard to believe. But after pondering over and over again, I think I got some pretty good theories. First, most MPG numbers reported on forums were read straight from the dash. That was equivalent to using the odometer miles instead of the GPS. For this exact same trip, that will only calculate to 15.1 highway and 13.7 combined. As we explained before, this was not accurate. So most people with larger tires were underestimating their fuel economy. Second, when was the last time you've seen a Tundra on 37s, but everything else was stock? Stock wheels, stock suspension, and stock bumpers. In other words, my Tundra still has near factory aerodynamics. At highway speeds, aerodynamic drag makes up over half of the total energy consumption. That is why all the new trucks do so many crazy things just for aerodynamics.
At highway speeds, one of the most important keys to both efficiency and stability is how a vehicle cuts through the air. It's aerodynamics. This is doubly true when that vehicle is towing, and that's exactly why Toyota outfitted the 3rd generation Tundra with an active front spoiler.
But for most overland builds, when they install larger tires, they at least get a suspension lift, if not also high clearance front bumper and many more. All that have drastic impacts on aerodynamics. But most of us may simplify the story to, geez, those 37s just killed my fuel economy. And at last, many of you were surprised that I did not re-gear for 37s. But in my specific case, having stock gearing might have actually helped. Now, by no means I'm saying that we should all not re-gear. It's just not that simple, and often misunderstood. This topic deserves a dedicated video and should not be oversimplified. If you want to see me making a video about gearing, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one.